Two straight games, two straight late leads, and two straight losses for the Pacers. Same formula again as they drop one to Denver on Tuesday in Pascal Siakam's home debut in Gainbridge Fieldhouse, plus Tyrese Haliburton out for two more games. Again, we have a lot to talk about on today's Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, y'all? Happy Wednesday, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and SI, and today, lots to get to from a busy Tuesday. Pascal Siakam debuts in Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Tyrese Haliburton announced out for that game, plus two more this week as they continue to evaluate and manage his hamstring injury. Interesting, after he played last week. Pacers lead the reigning champs with 3 minutes and 15 seconds to go, and then lose in the clutch. Very similar story to their loss to the Phoenix Suns on Sunday. Lots and lots to get to today. And I wager we start, first of all, with a very nice listener I met at the game named Dominic in a Pascal Siakam jersey. Awesome to see how many people already had Pascal Siakam jerseys. What we really should start with this game is the end. Again, right? Very, very similar plot of the game to the Suns game. The Pacers were ahead at halftime this time instead of behind, and their comeback was shorter because the Nuggets weren't ahead as much. But in the fourth quarter of this game, Lloyd Pierce was the head coach at the time because Rick Carlisle got ejected after Pascal Siakam got whacked and no foul was called. Whatever on that. It was a foul. It should have gotten called. In the fourth quarter, like Nesmith was dunking and TJ McConnell hit a three, and Ben Shepherd played the whole fourth quarter and was awesome in that quarter, was hustling and making key plays, and Myles Turner was making some shots. Siakam was doing some nice stuff, and they come back from down 13 early in the fourth quarter and take a lead. The Pacers do 105-103 with 3 minutes and 15 seconds to go. Right. I have that incorrect. It was 103-102. 105-103 comes because Jokic breaks that lead with a three himself. And it was a very strange thing that really turned the momentum of this game. The Pacers took a lead on a three from Ben Shepherd, 103-102. And then Nikola Jokic sets a screen and starts cutting down the lane, which every big does this. Like, here's what I think about this call. Everybody is very upset about this. Ben Shepherd hugs Jokic. That is a foul. Jokic is also cutting and flails his arms up to sell the hug. So I'm kind of like indifferent on it. I don't think it was a moving screen because he was cutting. Like, that's how it goes. Like, Myles Turner does that every game. Every big man does the fake, like, I'm cutting, I'm not actually screening thing. But he totally sold it with the arm thing. It was lame. It was a stupid call. But anyway, not only did they flip it to being a foul on Shepherd instead of an offensive foul on the Nuggets, it was a huge stoppage. Like, not in terms of game impact, but just like length. It felt like 10 minutes. It was crazy. And the Nuggets used that flip to score. Jokic hits a three. Nesmith hits two free throws and ties it up on the next possession. So the Pacers were tied with 2 minutes and 52 seconds to go in this game. They're in it, right? They're really in it. When they lost on Sunday in Phoenix, their crunch time was very simple to diagram. Buddy Hield got targeted, and they were sloppy. The Pacers were throwing it all over the gym. They weren't able to get the shots they wanted. They were dribbling into traffic, right? Stuff wasn't as crisp. It wasn't as good, right? This time, Nembhard ties it again. So now with 2 minutes to go, it's tied at 107. Jamal Murray misses. Pacers have the ball. And Pascal Siakam, great pass to Aaron Nesmith. Great pass. Boom. Wide open three for Aaron Nesmith. Chance at the lead. Miss. And then Jokic is Jokic, and he scores. Next possession for the Pacers. Pascal Siakam, wonderful pass to Myles Turner for an open three on the right wing. Air, nothing, miss. The Nuggets with their championship pedigree score on the other end. Jamal Murray, awesome game. He scored. Pacers come down again. Siakam didn't set this one up, but Nesmith, open three, doesn't get it. 6 seconds later, Myles Turner, open three, doesn't get it. And now they're down 4, and they don't have the ball. They got it down to 2 again. Jokic with the dagger late. So the story of the end of this game is twofold. One, the Nuggets did score pretty well, although it was guys who were scoring well all game. I don't think the Pacers, they only gave up 114 to Denver. Their defense wasn't awesome all night, but I thought their defense was fine. They scored a 109, and their clutch time offense was atrocious, and it all came down to the shooting. this has been like a thing to me that, Tyrese Haliburton can, of course, create his own three at the highest level of anyone on this team. And he's approaching the anyone in the league status there, right? But even more so, he can set up other guys for high quality threes. Without him, it's a lot harder for the Pacers to get those open shots from deep. And that's fine. They have to find ways to succeed without that. And they have sometimes. In this game, they couldn't. Not only did they not create that many, they only took 21 threes. The Nuggets took 33. They only made 5. They had 5 threes in this whole game. And they created good ones in that stretch I just referred to. Like late in the game, the Nesmith, Turner ones, that was actually those two both took 2, were awesome looks. Awesome looks. Couldn't make them, right? 5 threes is tied for the lowest for the Pacers this season with a win against Milwaukee, right? You can win with 5 threes. That's not the only reason they lost, but a big factor. They did score 122 that time instead of only 109, and they just could not get him going. 21, though, is tied for their second fewest three-point attempts in a game this season, and most of those come in games without Haliburton. In Atlanta, they won. In Minnesota, they lost. Against the Wizards, they won. In Denver, they lost. Those are their 4 games under 30 three-point attempts before tonight, right? Clearly, Haliburton has a big impact on their three-point attempts, and you can even look up pretty easily what he does to their three-point attempt rate. But in this game specifically, not only were they not taking them, they couldn't make them, especially the wide-open ones created in overtime. Their three-point attempt rate with Haliburton on is 44.4. With him off, it's 34.7. Right? That's a huge difference, almost 10%. So it really killed them in this game. Late in the game, that was the difference to me. Of course, if you can stop Jokic and Murray, that would be awesome, right? That would be wonderful. They could have won with another stop or 2 in overtime, but their offense cost them in this game. And 5 for 21 is where I start with that. No one on the Pacers made more than 1 3. Aaron Nesmith, in fact, the starting 5 for the Pacers was 2 for 17 from 3. Nesmith was 1 for 7. Nembhard was 1 for 3. Siakam didn't take one. Turner and Hield combined 0 for 7 in this game. The bench was okay percentage-wise. In fact, they only missed 3 total. Mathurin was 1 for 2. Everybody else either didn't take any or made them all, right? That's fine. You'll take that. But they did not shoot well from 3, and they needed to. They really needed that to step up for them tonight because their paint pressure was pretty good, right? They did well in the around the basket. Jokic isn't particularly quick there. They had 60 points in the paint. They were figuring out a little bit more of what to do with Siakam there. Nembhard was hitting his shots there and distributing well. Same with McConnell. Those 2 point guards combined 32 points, 14 assists. That's wonderful, right? And other guys were getting to the rim pretty well as well. 5 free throw attempts for Mathurin, 7 for Turner. But they could not get the threes, and so they were really limited on what they could do on that end of the floor offensively. And they didn't pair that with offensive rebounding. They didn't dominate. In fact, they tied in the turnover battle. So it was really hard for the Pacers to find advantages. If you can't outshoot them like you usually can with Tyrese Haliburton available, you're just not going to have that many chances to win. And so even if you look at the games they've won without Haliburton, right? They beat the Hawks. Yeah, they didn't take many threes, but they made 61% of them. They beat the Wizards. The Wizards stink. They only gave up 104. Their defense was huge that game. Their shooting was really good in the win over the Hawks. When they beat the Heat and scored 144 in early December, they made 50% of their threes, 16 for 32, right? 3 of their 4 wins without Haliburton, the how they did it path is extremely easy to follow. And in Sacramento, they were 13 for 33 from deep that game. Pretty good shooting. So to win without him, they have to shoot well or they have to defend well, and likely both. And in this game, they defended good enough to me. In the clutch, it was not good enough, clearly. I'm not going to sit there and say that, giving up 6 points in the last 90 seconds is good, but they had to shoot better. They absolutely had to shoot better. And yes, that's hard without the guy who makes them easy, but it shouldn't be as hard as going 5 for 21, 23.8% from deep. They can do even without him. 23.8% is their 5th lowest of the season. In the previous 4 games that were lower than that, Haliburton played in 3 of the 4. Right? So it's not like his presence alone is that invaluable to the percentage. Obviously, it helps, but they just needed to make them, and they didn't in this game, and they were good looks. The one Siakam created, passed to. I don't think he was, really breaking down the defense for these at the end of the game, right? They were wide open. Turner airmailed one of them and rimmed out the other one. Nesmith missed both of them. Those are shots that even if one goes in, this is a different game. So Tough for the Pacers to lose like this 2 games in a row where they get to clutch time against a good foe and then do not have it late, especially because they need these wins. That's 3 losses in a row where something has been miserable. In Portland, it was their bench was far and away their worst bench game of the season. Wasn't even close. Was not even close. The starters were definitely good enough. In Phoenix, they couldn't stop KD. Their defense late was atrocious, right? And in this one, it was their offense. 109 is just not going to get it done for them. I believe they're still at only 1 win under 120 points this season. And this one could have been a game that, yes, that is still correct. The Washington Wizards home win is still the only time the Pacers have won under 120. And yes, without Haliburton, that's harder, but they had to score better than that, and they didn't. They did not find enough ways to do it. What else stands out as key takeaways from this game? Siakam's home debut. Ben Shepherd, wow. Some other pooey stuff that the Pacers would like to have back. Let's break down all that as we continue here on the Locked On Pacers podcast. But first, we've got to talk about Hungryroot. Trying to eat a little healthier in 2024? So am I. And Hungryroot is here to rescue you from short-lived resolutions, making meal planning easy and nutritious, building healthy habits that will not disappear early in the year. Hungryroot is good for your health. It makes it easier to eat healthy, right? They support all major diets. How about that? And it makes it easier to save money, right? You save money on groceries because you're not as wasteful. You reduce food waste for the same reason. You save time because it's a lot quicker to make them over the course of a full week plus planning. And hey, with a special discount code, 40% off and free veggies for life. Hungryroot, the easiest way to get fresh, high-quality food delivered to your door. They've got healthy groceries and simple recipes all in one place. You take a short, fun quiz. Hungryroot will get to know you, your goals, how you like to eat. Bam! They can help you out with delicious recipes sent right to you. They go beyond your weekly grocery haul with thousands of easy recipes that actually put groceries to good use before they get forgotten. And the best part is Hungryroot follows a simple standard. It's got to taste good, be quick to make, and contain whole, trusted ingredients. Spend less time planning, shopping, and cooking, and more time enjoying healthy food they'll actually love with Hungryroot. Right now, Hungryroot is offering Locked On Pacers listeners 40% off your first delivery and free veggies for life. Just go to hungryroot.com/lockdown to get 40% off your first delivery and your free veggies. That's hungryroot.com/lockdown. Don't forget our link so they know that we sent you. We've also got to talk about eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. Fitting as the Pacers cars just played the Nuggets, the champs. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you will always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you will get your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP like Jokic and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. And we're back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day. Make Locked On Nuggets your second listen. Hear more about the reigning champs and their reign over the Pacers. 2-0 for the Nuggets over the Pacers this season. 13 total point margin victory. Pacers played them pretty well. No Haliburton in either game, but no wins. And that is the key takeaway for the Pacers right now, who really need a win. They really needed to beat Portland. Everything would look a lot better had they done so. Some interesting stuff happened in this game beyond the end of the game. Pacers, again, were ahead at halftime. So they had a lot of stuff that they can be happy with despite the end of the game. Myles Turner continues to prove this theory that Pascal Siakam handed him, which is, and I think Turner, of course, had this theory himself, having Siakam means Turner has easier defensive guys on him every game. 29 in Siakam's first game, 22 tonight. He had only 18 minutes last time. I had 12 in Phoenix, but he continues to be a well-refined offensive threat in this new era of the Pacers. 8 for 13 on twos, got to the foul line 7 times. He was really effective late in the game. Of course, the missed threes were rough. He had a goaltend block that was really close that he kind of had to go for. That would have been great, obviously, if it was a block. And a very unlucky deflection as he's flailing his arms around that gave Jokic a bucket late. But Myles Turner scoring with Siakam, I think, is going to be very interesting because I think his touches are going to be either in games really down or really up, right? There are some games where his matchup just won't dictate him being a needed scorer. And there'll be some games where it's like, oh, this is the best matchup all the time. And this was one of them, 18 shots against Jokic, and he was drilling on the twos and doing well around the basket. I think that's going to be a consistent thing you see going forward. Ben Mathurin's got to start making some shots, right? The free throws were there in this one, which helped him. And that was a key thing for him last year is he got to the line so much that he could have these inefficient nights. But he had an 0-for in Portland, a 1-for in Phoenix, and now 3-for-8 in this one. 11 points on 8 shots is fine. He had some assists and rebounds. He was better in this one than those 2 games. But he's got to start making some shots. I mean, the Pacers' perimeter guys who weren't point guards in this game hurt them once again. Second game in a row where the front court looks really solid for the Pacers and the back court is not quite with them on that level. Nesmith, 5-for-13. He's got to hit some shots. He was 4-for-6 on 2s, though. TJ McConnell was there. He was ready for this game. He was much better than he was in Phoenix. Andrew Nembhard was ready for this game, one of his best performances in a long time. But Buddy Hield also, 1-for-3, only 3 points. When he's off, he's really off. They did not play him hardly at all in the second half, and some of that's because Ben Shepherd was so good. But Nesmith, Mathurin, Hield needed to hit some shots. They've just had no consistency recently, this Pacers team, where it's a different grouping, kind of struggling every single game. But they really needed those guys to be better in this game than they actually were. Siakam, 7-for-16 on his way to 16 points, so not an efficient night at all. Did not get to the line very much, only 2 free throws. 10 boards, that was nice. 4 assists. That was the best of the non-point guards on the Pacers. I think his passing is going to be a good skill, but his efficiency hasn't been there these last 2 games for the Pacers. -5 in his minutes. A little too underwhelming performances in a row. He did tell us after the game, I finally at least got to do media with him, that he didn't sleep the first 2 nights after the trade. Just a lot going on, a lot of travel, a lot of emotions and stuff like that. His first walking through or time to do a practice with the team was the walkthrough they had to that day before the Nuggets game. So not a lot of sleep, not a lot of practice time for Pascal Siakam. I'm not excusing his performances, but 16 points on 16 shots isn't that great. A lot that he can be a little bit better at, even though I still they weren't looking for him enough. There were times in this game I don't think he took a shot from the second quarter till the middle of the fourth. They've got to be looking for him a little more now that they have him on the team, and I know that's an adjustment. I asked Carlisle how long it can take for these things to fully adjust when you make a big trade like this, and he said, sometimes it depends, but couple weeks was kind of what he landed on for that. So we'll see where that ends up. I thought that was an interesting Siakam performance. Certainly some good stuff. His passing was good. His rebounding was good, but the scoring needs to be better. The revelation of the game. If they had won, I would have talked a lot about this guy. Ben Shepherd. What a game. The stats are never going to show that this was Ben Shepherd's best game of the season. He played the whole fourth quarter. He came in to start the fourth, and I was like, that's interesting. And he defended his butt off, man. I mean, that's just the third game in a row for him. I don't remember if he played in Portland or not, but in Sacramento, he was great on D. In Phoenix, his energy was there on D. And in this game, he was everywhere on the end of the floor. He did play in Portland. I don't remember as much about that game, but he was +14 in Sacramento and +10 in Phoenix and +7 tonight. His defensive energy is crazy. He is flying around. He's not afraid of screens. He's not afraid to get in your face. And it helps that he made all of his shots in this game, 2 for 2 from the field, including hitting a 3. But he didn't mess up. He didn't turn it over. He only fouled once. He had a steal, an assist, a rebound, making his shots. Between his defensive impact and low error game, he was awesome. He might have been their best 2 guard in this game. Lloyd Pierce couldn't get him off the floor in the fourth quarter. Why would he? If he's going to have a guy who's spacing the floor and defending like crazy, making life hard for whoever he's on, which was often KCP, but sometimes Jamal Murray is keep going with that guy. Ben Shepherd, his best game, right? It doesn't show up in the stat. It's not going to show up in the stat sheet from a scoring perspective. From really any stat, you're going to go, why are you saying that was his best game? Because he changed the game. He was their best option at 2 guard all night. And now I have a take that has sprung up from Ben Shepherd playing like this recently. Is the best Pacers 5 defensively right now, is their best defensive 5, does it include Ben Shepherd? Is it Nembhard, Shepherd, Nesmith, Siakam, Turner? Or is it something else? I think it's possible it's the 5 guys I just said. Maybe you could argue Mathurin, but if Shepherd is defending like this, if his energy is like this, that might be a take I'm willing to sit on and think about for a little bit. If his energy on that end of the floor, and his effort can be that kind of guy. My Siakam notes from the game were his buckets early were really important. He guarded Jamal Murray pretty well on a few switches, but he needs to be more involved, and especially if he's off. Maybe not if he's 7 for 16, but I think that getting him involved more often could have been a better thing in the third quarter. The only other notes that I have from the game that I haven't talked about yet, in fact, there's only one more actually, and it's about Ben Mathurin just being ball stoppy in this game, right? When you've seen Ben Mathurin at his best this season, what it's kind of looked like his quick decision making. He knows exactly what to do when the ball comes his way. Put on the floor, make a play, pass, shoot, whatever he's doing in this game. A lot of ball stopping, catch, assess, look up. And sometimes when he's getting to the line a bunch or making his shots, that can be okay, but he wasn't in this game. That wasn't happening. So a tougher game for him. That is 24-20 for the Pacers with two more toughies coming. Philly and Phoenix on a back-to-back later this week. Embiid just scored 70. KD went crazy again the day after the day after the Suns beat the Pacers. How about that? Those are going to be tough. And they won't have Tyrese Haliburton for either one. The Pacers won't. We learned more about that this morning. What is the latest on that? What do the Pacers need to do better without their star point guard? We'll talk about that to close out today's show. But first, we've got to talk about the lovely folks over at FanDuel. The NFL season in playoff mode, AFC Championship, NFC Championship coming up, and there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers on FanDuel can get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. How about that? You visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. You place that $5 bet. Win or lose, you'll get $150 in bonus bets. The app on FanDuel, very easy to use. They have a ton of different ways to bet, like finding bets in their new Explore tab. Easy way to do it. They have live same-game parlays, which everybody loves. You can make a parlay in their parlay hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and plenty more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup on FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. Back here on Locked On Pacers, thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day. Hop over to Locked On Bucks for your second listen because, whoa, they fired Adrian Griffin after 43 games in his first season. And Joe Prunty's their interim, but maybe not. Doc Rivers might already have the job. Some interesting reporting on that hire of Doc Rivers, which it sounds like he's the favorite, but CNN reported he's got the job. It's over. So we'll see. Locked On Bucks with a big move for the Bucks mid-season. We will wrap up with bad news for the Pacers. The original news, if you'll recall, after the Celtics game was Tyrese Haliburton will be reevaluated after the Pacers road trip with his left hamstring strain, grade 1. That was thought of as good news at the time, right? And then they go on the road trip, and Tyrese Haliburton, he went on a couple things to note. He went on a broadcast. Iowa State played BYU. I think I talked about this on the show a little bit, so I don't want to talk about this too much. But he went on a broadcast talking about his health status. He was like offhand, pretty short. But he said, "I'm good. I'm ahead of schedule. Whatever the right time for me to return, whatever is the right time for me and the medical staff agrees, I'll be back." Then he played on Friday in Portland, right? Quicker than anybody thought. Before the road trip ended, he was reevaluated and determined to be ready to go, right? He said he'd work with the medical staff in that interview, that answer he gave on that broadcast on ESPN+. Tyrese Haliburton back, 21 points, 17 assists. But as we noted after that game, clearly grimacing during the game. And I said, I don't want to assume that he's grimacing because of the hamstring, but that is the most likely reason. Well, then 2 days later, doesn't play in Phoenix, was listed questionable. And then this morning, more news on the front of Tyrese Haliburton's injury as Rick Carlisle on 107.5 The Fans, the morning wake-up call. There's no the morning in there. On the wake-up call with Kevin Bowen, KB and Andy, he says, we're going to sit him for the next 3 games. We'll see where he's at on Saturday. So that would mean Tyrese Haliburton out for Nuggets, which we just saw, Sixers, and Suns. So 3 tough opponents, again, without one of the best offensive players in the sport. Carlisle, with more detail, said our training staff wasn't comfortable with how he responded to that when referring to the Blazers game and said the reevaluation will come. So, look, I'm not going to assume that he rushed back or that this is a setback because no one has said that. But it seems like potentially he came back too soon. But no one has said that. I'm not going to put words in anyone's mouth. Still not good that he came back and played and then immediately could not again. And this would follow the original timeline they provided. They get back from the road trip, they reevaluate, they say 3 more games. But because he played in Portland, it feels bad. It feels worse. And so there's going to be questions about this and how his hamstring can respond. He was on the bench for this game, getting happy with Buddy Hield dunks and stuff like that. Either way, not good, right? Pacers obviously way better with him, as evidenced in Portland, as evidenced for the whole season. They're now 4-6 without him and 20-14 with him. I mean, that's still a better record than last year without him, but still, they clearly will miss him. So that is bad for the Pacers, right? TJ McConnell has had some good games in Haliburton's absence, but not enough. Nembhard was good tonight, but again, not enough. They need their backcourt to be more consistent. They need their balance to return, and they haven't quite had that, and they haven't quite found the defensive identity that they were forming these last couple games with a new player in the mix. So it's going to be tougher for them to win without him as they integrate Siakam at the same time, and then they'll have to integrate Siakam to a team with Haliburton, which will be easy, but still they have to do it. So if they beat either Phoenix or Philly this week, that's huge. I mean, they really need one of those. They should beat Memphis on Sunday. To me, they should be the favorites against Memphis, even without Haliburton. But I mean, beating the Suns or the reigning champs without him is tough. They should have beat Portland, but he played in that game. This is bad for the Pacers, obviously. Winning without him is harder. The numbers, I'll say that. I just reiterated all this stuff. I don't want to go be moaning again, but they've got to find a way to either shoot better or defend better or both, preferably for the Pacers, in these next couple games without their star. The other point about this, Tyrese Haliburton has a very, very big financial incentive this season to make All-NBA. And that requires him playing in 65 games. There are some ways that is not the exact number, but he missed the Celtics game. He missed the Heat game. He missed Minnesota. That's 3 out of 17, right? And then he missed the 5 on the trip, and Phoenix was 6. And then this Nuggets one was 7, and the next 2 will be 8, 9. That means his peak played games, if he plays every other game after the end of the week for the rest of the season, would be 73. He's got 7 left that he can miss and still be above the All-NBA threshold. And he's obviously been one of the best 15 players in the league because All-NBA is positionless, but he has financial incentive to play in as many games as possible. I don't know how the exceptions all perfectly work. For example, they made the in-season tournament finals. Does that count as an extra game for him? Does the game he played against Boston, but only played 14 minutes and got hurt, does that count against him? There's a lot of stuff I'm going to have to dig into the real CBA to see the verbiage and language on. But he would like to play, right? It makes sense for him to do that. So that it's got to be hard for them to. This is why this rule stinks. I get why the NBA wants guys to play, but guys rushing back should not be financially incentivized to rush back. I almost feel like in this exact scenario where you have a rookie scale extension, you specifically do not have this rule attached to your. If All NBA actually super can benefit you financially, you should not be tied to the games played rule. But there's a lot of guys with super maxes that are also in this position. So it's really tough. It is really tough. I'll write about this because it's very interesting and a big part of, the Pacers season. I talked about them in the tax recently, but if Tyrese Haliburton doesn't make All NBA, that's one way to get under the tax pretty easily. You save 5% of the cap right away, right? So that's a big part of this too. Him coming back is obviously fantastic for the Pacers because he's an amazing player and they'd rather have him than not. Him not missing games is big for him. So both parties would like Tyrese Haliburton to play, to get on the court and play. So the fact that they're being this cautious says a lot about where he could be at. We'll see if he could play again on Sunday against Memphis. But they really need to win one of these next two to, erase the Portland loss in theory, get on track, beat Memphis, and then, your schedule finally starts to ease up a tiny bit after that Boston game next week for the Pacers. So get Haliburton back. Would be plan 1 for the Pacers. Ensure his long-term health would be plan number 2 for the Pacers, and start integrating Pascal Siakam. They will practice Wednesday, so that should help a bunch on that quest to integrate their new star. But a tough loss for the Pacers. Another one where they blow it late. If you have any questions about this game or anything I said, I can be found on Twitter at Tony R. East. And this show is there at Locked on Pacers. I am quite tired. So if I don't answer them in the morning, that is why. I got a lot of questions yesterday morning. So I'll probably sleep in a little bit. Either way, we'll be back tomorrow talking rumors, the rumor list for the Pacers ahead of the trade deadline. Then we'll take about a week off from trade stuff unless something happens. Then I have a cool guest lined up to talk trade deadline in early February. And then we'll talk a little bit of Sixers and the Pacers. Can they take down Philly? And maybe anything Siakam says it's interesting on Wednesday, should he talk to media once again after practice. Thank y'all a ton for listening. Hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you soon.